Hello and welcome to the Munro Method Clancast. My name is Jason Munro and this is episode 9. 9 episodes, my goodness. This one is going to be a bit of a break from the norm, however. So if you are listening to this episode, you are going to benefit from it if you are not currently a member of Clan Munro, if you are thinking about joining us, if you want to learn more about exactly what it is I do with the guys I work with, inside our private coaching groups, then this is the episode for you. I wanted to record this because I find it very difficult to verbalize concisely what it is I do and how it works and why it's just so different from most of the things that are out there. When I say I find it difficult to verbalize it concisely, I mean I find it difficult to populate a website in a way that gives you a lot of information about what we do, or an email, or an Instagram post, or a Facebook post, because it's very complex. Because weight loss, long-lasting weight loss, is complex. And I think I've just had this epiphany now, when I've been thinking about this. I think that one of the reasons that people struggle with their weight so much is there are so many things out there that appear on the surface to be so simplistic, but actually, in the long term, they're not helpful. People want weight loss to be easy. And the thing is, if you are just talking about the actual process of losing weight, it is easy. But the thing is, you listening to this right now, you don't have a weight problem. The vast majority of people don't have a weight problem. They have a number of other issues that lead to their weight being where it is. And all these other things that seem simple and like little effort on the surface, yes, they help you address this outcome, the weight, the outcome of weight gain, but none of them help you address the reasons that you repeatedly find yourself in this position where you have weight to lose. And it's not something that's going to be overcome just by following a few simple rules and all of a sudden, here's me at my goal weight and I'm going to just live the rest of my life never gaining weight again. It's not as simple as that, I'm afraid to say. So let me tell you a bit about what it is I do, how it works, and all the rest of it. One of the questions that I get quite a lot on Instagram is it just calorie counting? So they see things on Instagram, and this is what I mean, they get this perception from the things that I share, the things that I post about, the things that my members share that I reshare, and all the rest of it. Is it just calorie counting? Is it just MyFitnessPal? Is it just macros? And it's not. Because if that's all that you want to do, you can go and do that anywhere. There are plenty of terrible coaches out there charging people £5 a month, £50 a year, just to be quote-unquote macro coaches, where all they do is slide your macros up and down a few grams at a time. My God, there are, I'm talking about macro coaches, there are people who charge hundreds of pounds for their services. My friend used to work for a company as a coach. They charge hundreds of pounds a month to their clients. We're talking £300 and £400 a month. But they have additional charges. One of those charges, it was dollars because it's an Australian company. One of those charges is in dollars and it is $35 for macro adjustments. Fuck me. $35 to go, okay, increase your protein by 20 grams and reduce your carbs by 20 grams. $35, please. My goodness. Anyway, let's talk more about this. I hope this sounds good, by the way. I went and bought a new microphone, I bought a new webcam, I bought new other stuff. I'm trying to improve the sound quality of these, and then I just move around on my big shaky chair, making an absolute racket down your ear holes. Maybe I need to buy a new chair, a silent chair. So, the Munro method. Let's do a history lesson. Back in 2017, I discovered that I wanted to help people. It was the end result of me learning more about nutrition, going on my own journey. The group I was a part of at the time covered some of the kind of basics about nutrition and macros and other things, but it was ran by personal trainers who really had no business at all talking about nutrition. I only realise that now, years later. Some of the language that they used was terrible and damaging. And I was, at that time, I was like, I really like this. I'm really into this. However, there must be more to it than this. And there was. My God, there was. And I looked into it myself, and then I discovered more. I started helping people. People started coming to me through Instagram, because that's where I was predominantly posting stuff. I started coaching people for free through Instagram, to the point where I was like, do you know what? I do not want to do my day job anymore. I was making concrete products for a company called Marshall's. I was making monoblock and slabs and curbs and all other manner of things. I decided that I wanted to help people. Not only help people, but I wanted to help them with their nutrition. I wanted to help them with their weight. I wanted to help them improve the quality of their life and potentially add years onto the end of it. So through the back end of 2017, I wrote what then was going to be called Munro Fitness, because that was my name on Instagram. And it was a natural progression that the group I was going to start would be called Munro Fitness. And it was for a couple of years until I got to the point where I was like, this just does not sit well with me. This group is absolutely not about fitness. It is a nutrition group, predominantly working with serial yo-yo dieters, people that have bounced around from Slimming World to Weight Watchers to all the rest of them. That's where I found my niche. So a couple of years ago, I rebranded to Munro Nutrition, and I called what I do the Munro method, the way that I approach. It's not really the way that I approach weight loss, it's the way that I approach weight management, I would say. And it's my method. It's not something that can be copied or repeated. It's yes, calories and macros are a very, very, very small part of it, but it's the coaching process and the mindset changes that happen along the way. Those are the key parts. So let's start there. Most people believe that they have a weight problem. They believe that their weight is an issue and that their weight is something they need help with. And it's just not true. Your weight is not a problem. Your weight is an outcome. Your weight is an end result. It's like somebody saying, oh, I have a debt problem. Okay, how's that? Well, I'm 10 grand in debt. Okay. So you just woke up one day and all of a sudden you had this issue where you were 10 grand in debt. It doesn't work like that. You don't have a debt problem. You have a spending problem. And it's the same when it comes to our weight. You did not wake up one day and you were X pounds or stones or kilos. It is the end result of months and years of all different things. Things that you think, things that you do, things that you feel, the way that you behave. It's complex and they're all very intertwined and interlinked. So when it comes to solving the problem or the perceived problem of our weight, so you know, someone might come to me because they want to lose weight. And that's fine, that will happen. But they shouldn't be coming to me because they think that their weight is the problem that they need to solve. Oh no, that's probably the wrong thing to say. They should be coming to me because they think their weight is a problem that they need to solve. But by the time they leave me, they'll realise that they didn't have a weight problem at all. They had a problem or a number of problems elsewhere that needed to be solved. And when they solved those, their weight just went in the direction they wanted it to anyway. So I think that's the kind of key essential part of what I do, that I do not help people lose weight. I help people make changes to the things that influence their weight. I help people change the way that they think, act and feel around food and or drink and or activity sometimes, so that they start to live within their body's means. Let's bring it back to finances again. Finances are so easy to relate to. You know, if someone is in 10 grand of debt, say, it is, you know, and they have a decent job and they're getting paid well, and it's not like they have any money issues or they're having to get into debt in order to survive. They just are getting into debt because the amount of money they spend exceeds the amount of money they make. They like to buy things. They like to buy clothes. They like to go on holidays, and whatever else. That person does not have a debt problem. That person has a spending problem. And they need to make changes. So it might be, maybe you should go to Costa, 2 days a week instead of 5. Maybe you should cut those takeaways down from 3 to 1. Maybe you should eat out maybe once a fortnight instead of 6 times. Maybe you should get your hair done once every whatever. Do you need to get your nails done that frequently? Do you really need to buy that many clothes? And you can see how all of these little problems, if we go back and say, right, well, we'll cut that down and we'll reduce that and we'll reduce that and we'll swap that and we'll swap that. What starts to happen at the end of that process? That debt, the number attached to that debt starts to change because we've made a number of changes elsewhere that influence it. And it's the exact same when it comes to your weight. We all burn a particular number of calories each day, and that varies day to day because our activity level changes day to day. But in general, if someone is burning 2,000 calories a day and they are gaining half a pound a week, because of what we know about how fat gain works and fat loss works, we could say that that person is consuming on average around 250 calories more than their body has a use for each day. Now that doesn't have to be 2,250 every day. It could be 2,000 a day Monday to Friday, and it could be 4,000 a day Saturday and Sunday. But, people gain weight because they live outside of their means, okay? They live outside of their body's needs. Every piece of energy that you consume that your body does not have use for goes into storage. That storage is body fat. That's what body fat is. It's a reserve fuel tank to be tapped into in times when there is food scarcity. The thing is, hundreds of years ago, when we depended on crops and livestock for, to survive on, that would have been more useful then when a crop failed or when a herd had to be culled or whatever the case may be, when, had to go through periods where you had to eat less and ration your food and live off low food stores. That's fine because that's what body fat was there for. That's literally what a calorie deficit would be. There wouldn't be much food to go around, so you would eat what you could and make it last until times were going to be plentiful again. And it basically, you would eat X amount and your body fat would make up the rest. However, in today's world, that's what we do to lose fat. We create a calorie deficit by consuming less calories, and our body then turns inwards and starts to eat itself and break body fat down for energy. Only this time we're doing it intentionally. And, in today's world, food is abundant everywhere, 24/7. All day, every day. You don't have to go very far to be able to find something to eat. So your body is supposed to gain body fat. But again, the problem is that it's so easy to consume more than you need. And not just that. People also have very imbalanced diets. So here's what I generally tend to find with the people I work with. They will be hungry quite a lot. They will have excessive hunger. Their meals don't satisfy them for any length of time. They can have their dinner and be hungry an hour later. And I find that the vast majority of people I work with, because we use tracking, in many cases, people will spend the first couple of weeks just tracking how they're already eating. They're not quite ready to throw themselves entirely into the process, and then we'll get to the first check-in. And I can look at their MyFitnessPal, their NutriCheck, and I can see, right, your carbs are... When I say things like high and low, I mean relative to that person or relative to the balance of that person's nutrition. So I'll look at their nutrition, and their carbs will be high, their fat will be high, their protein will be low, and their fiber will be low. And that's a great thing to see because that tells me that I can help that person very easily by making some adjustments to the way that they balance their diet. A high carb, high fat, low protein, low fiber diet is going to be a hungry balance of nutrition, because protein is the most satiating macro that we consume, meaning it's the one that keeps us fullest for longest. Fiber has similar effects. And and that's what I mean by, if someone's burning 2,000 calories a day and they're hungry all the time and they end the day by eating 2,500, they are living outside of their body's means and they are going to consistently gain body fat. All we're doing then, or all I'm doing then, is helping that person make some adjustments to the balance of their nutrition so that they can not only live within their body's means, but they can also manipulate things to make their body fat go in a different direction. So anyway, that's just one very small part of what we do. One of the biggest factors, one of the biggest things that I help with is improving people's relationship with food. Now, I've spoken about that already in other episodes, talking about good and bad foods, a relationship with food. That is the underlying current of most people's issues when it comes to overeating. That I work with anyway. Maybe not most people in general, but the majority of people I work with, they come to me and they have poor relationships with food. They overeat, potentially sometimes binge eat, and it usually stems from things like polarized thinking, black and white thinking, good and bad foods, healthy and unhealthy foods. Because you will never have a positive experience eating a food that you believe to be bad. Oh, this makes me want to go on a tangent about my son's school. My son, I've mentioned this before as well. He was given an exercise. Here is the heading healthy, here is the heading unhealthy, here is a list of foods. Put them under the correct heading. Pizza, crisps, chocolate, biscuits, etc. all under unhealthy. And then he comes home at night and we sit down on the school website and we say, right, what do you want for lunch next week? And then he looks at each day and he goes, right, I'll have pizza that day. And I'm thinking, you've just been taught in your classroom in primary 2 that pizza is an unhealthy food, and now here is your school offering you what they have just told you is an unhealthy food on the menu. Now, at 7 years old, he might not put 2 and 2 together there, but for me, you're teaching children that you are providing them with an unhealthy diet. And for me, that is where all of this stems from. This is where the poor relationship with food stems from. These warped ideas around good and bad foods, healthy and unhealthy. I put a post up on Instagram last week, and it was a picture of a lettuce. Excuse me, this COVID cough, tickly cough that's been with me for 5 weeks is not going anywhere. Hence the constant lubrication. I put a post on Instagram, a picture of lettuce and a picture of a skeleton, and it said, healthy foods and unhealthy foods aren't a thing, or healthy foods aren't a thing. Because if you ate nothing but lettuce, you would soon wish you hadn't. Pointing to the lettuce and then pointing to the skeleton, because if you ate nothing but lettuce, a perceived healthy food, you would eventually die through malnutrition. And it would be a terrible, long, slow, horrible, painful death as well. So healthy foods aren't a thing. And yet, here are children being taught it at school. And then for me, for many people listening to this, when we were younger, it was, you're not leaving the table until you've eaten all of that. Creating that underlying behaviour, that plates had to be cleared later in life. Now, at the time, that was more about like food waste. It wasn't just that there were vegetables on the plate. It was that, I've made that, you will eat all of it and none of that will be going in the bin. And then later on in life, that's a habit that sticks with you. You get into the habit of clearing every plate. I got very good at doing this. I discovered that if I ate fast enough and ate so fast that the food didn't have time to hit my stomach, I could clear that plate. Eating mealtimes used to be an inconvenience in between playtimes. I liked eating and I liked food. However, I liked playing even more. And, my mum coming out the back, garden and shouting, Jason, dinner time, that was such an inconvenience. So it was like, sat down, fork going absolutely rapid from the plate to the mouth. Finish, can I go? Yep, see ya. 10 minutes later, you're absolutely stuffed and feeling sick because it's all just hit your stomach. We are so impressionable at that age, and that is where it all begins. That's where our relationship with food starts to get fucked up, because we are told that things are healthy and unhealthy. Our parents also had terrible ideas around these kind of concepts. Eating rubbish, eating crap, eating junk. You've ate nothing but crap all day. Have this, eat that. And all they're doing is passing their terrible mindset around nutrition onto you. So anyway, sorry, did go off on a bit of a tangent then. If you imagine that your body is a machine, right? And your brain is the computer running the machine. Your computer runs on software. Now, the version of you listening to this right now, you are the accumulation of years of experiences, of things that you've read, things that you've seen, things that you've watched, things that you've listened to. All of that has led to you becoming who you are right now. Now, I know there'll be many people listening to this that have never worked with me before. And I know just as many that are members of the group do listen to these because they get a lot of value from them on top of what we already do inside the group. When people join me, I think of them as joining me as version 1.0. Okay, when we do their initial starting template, and I find out more about them, and I say, yeah, I've done Slimming World, I've done Weight Watchers numerous times, I've done this, I've done that. I already know the type of person I'm working with. Someone that believes that they've tried everything to lose weight, they've yo-yo dieted for a long time, they hop from plan to plan, hoping that this is going to be the one, when the reality is they're just hopping from the same thing to the same thing, dressed up under different branding, different terminology, different cost, etc. And I know that I can help that person completely, absolutely change that person's life if they let me. And when I say if they let me, I mean if they put the confidence into what they're doing and actually get stuck into it. But yeah, once you find out a bit more about someone, you know pretty much straight away whether or not you're going to be able to help that person. And in the vast majority of cases, I can absolutely help. And I think the way that things are worded in social media, the way that I talk in my posts and in my captions and the things I talk about, I like to think that they're written because I'm trying to attract the type of person that I know that I can help the most. And I think that helps me maintain a good balance of getting the right people through the door. And yeah, it all kind of works out. So anyway, they join me as version 1.0 with their lengthy diet history, their lengthy experiences, their ideas that they have around good and bad foods, the perceptions that they have, etc. They also join with the goal of losing weight, and that's absolutely fine, right? They're not signing up for me, at the end of the day, these people want to lose weight. That's why they're here. However, it's fine letting them believe that initially, because I want to get them in the door. And once they're in the door, that's when I start doing the real work. We do the first part, which is their initial starting template. We find out more about them, their physical aspects. We set them some nutrition goals. They work through the information, and off they go. And they come back to me after 2 weeks, and I will sit down on camera with this microphone, projecting myself onto their check-in with their screenshots and the check-in template that they filled out, and I will start to read through it, and I will pick apart each piece of it, and I will help them and guide them and support them. And this is the part that I struggle with, putting into words exactly what it is I do. They will come to me, and I watch out for particular language. I'll try and get the emotion, the tone of their check-in, because that helps me know that lets me know how to deal with it. I read between the lines a lot and the things that they say. People will tend to try and dance around things that are uncomfortable or they don't want to talk about. For example, people will say things like, "Oh, I can feel myself reverting back to old habits," or that day was just a write-off, or what else would be a good example? Things went downhill from there. They're generalizing something that they feel uncomfortable getting into. But the thing is, it's those things that they don't want to get into that they need to get into. Those things that they gloss over, those are the problems that need to be drawn out and dealt with the most. So I'll go back and say, tell me more about what this means. What do you mean when you say things went downhill? Be specific. Tell me specifically, how did things go downhill? Tell me about what led to that and what makes you think that. Because that's someone, what's the word to use? That's kind of going down the road of self-sabotage. So when they say, oh, I did this and then it all went downhill, what they mean is, I did this thing, and then because of how I felt about what I done, I just allowed the rest of the day to go to shit as well. Now, I know what that's what that means, but I want them to say it, and I want to draw it out and talk about it. And this is what I mean about solving the problem of weight, because these things that I've just mentioned, these are just a few of the things that I do at check-ins. Because as I talk to this person or these people, and as I coach them, and as I help them through each of these things, the end result that they're working towards, the outcome that they're working towards, starts to happen. Because if you check in with me every fortnight, and each fortnight we find something new to talk about and to discover and to change, and I can give some practical recommendations, and then they'll go away and they'll spend a fortnight putting those things into practice, and as we get to each check-in, known or unknown, we are solving all of these little problems along the way. This thing that you had a problem with a fortnight ago, 2 weeks later, oh, this has been going really well. I remembered what you said last time about this. I've been trying to get away from that black and white thinking. I watched the live chat that you suggested on good foods and bad foods, and I managed to enjoy a bar of chocolate and get on with my life. I didn't feel the need to go back and have another one because I felt terrible because I had a bar of chocolate. It's no longer a bad food. Just one example of many that I could bore you to tears given. But this is the process. It is not just helping people lose weight. It is helping people learn the reasons behind why they repeatedly find themselves in a position where they have weight to lose. That's how I kind of describe things on social media. These diets that are out there that just try to help you change your weight, they're not changing anything about you as a person. The example I use a lot of the time with the guys in the group is, again, coming back to debt. Let's say someone is 25 grand in debt, and a relative of theirs, now the reason they're 25 grand in debt is because they cannot stop fucking spending. They're on holiday all the time, they're changing their car all the time, all the things I said earlier, buying new clothes, hair done, nails done, whatever. Spending a fortune. And they are just gradually getting more and more and more into debt. Swapping credit card, balance transfers, taking out loans to pay them off, and then getting on the credit cards again, right? Until one day, their gran steps in and says, listen, I am going to give you, what's the total? Tell me how much it's going to take to help you clear your feet. It's going to take 25 grand. Gran. Right, here's a check for 26, just to make sure. Go and pay it off. Now, that person goes away, they pay all of that off. What do you think would happen next? That person would almost immediately start getting into debt again, because you have not changed a single thing about them as a person. All you've done is change their situation. You were in 26 grand of debt, now you're not in 26 grand of debt. You are still someone that spends far more money than you are making. You are still someone that goes out all weekend, that eats out all the time, that spends a fortune on clothes, that goes on holidays and, can't afford them. Nothing has changed about you as a person. So, yep, thanks, Gran. That was nice of you to give me 26 grand. 6 months later, I'm already 10 grand back into debt again because nothing has changed. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Now, people can get liposuction. People can do shake diets. God, Cambridge weight plan's one of the worst ones out there. People just follow this thing where they eat 600 calories a day or drink 600 calories a day. Maybe they're allowed to have a meal in between then as well. And what's the end result? Very rapid weight loss. And yes, you've reached your goal. Now what? Now what? How do you eat? What did you learn about eating while you were drinking these shakes every day? What have you learned about incorporating social occasions and alcohol and takeaways and chocolate and all of these things you had before that you took away? How do you now learn? Similarly with people that just remove things. I know that when I remove crisps, biscuits, and chocolate from my diet, I lose weight. Great. And you lose weight and you get to whatever target. Now what? Do you just never eat those things ever again? Or do you reintroduce them? The thing is, if you do reintroduce them, how do you behave around them? Because what did you learn during the time that you removed them? Your weight is an outcome. Your weight is a passenger along for the ride. You are the one driving your body. You are the one that eats and drinks and goes out and all these other things. It's your choices and your actions, which are driven by your mindset and your beliefs, that ultimately lead to which direction your weight goes in. And if you only ever try to treat the outcome of those actions, then you will yo-yo diet for your entire life. And that is what I do. I help people solve all these little problems, focus on this process along the way, so that when they do get to the end of their time with me, they're not going back to normal. There's no normal to go back to. What they're doing with me, because what we do, because they have everything that they still want. We've had to make some shifts to the balance of how they do things, but they still eat out, they still have takeaways, they still have alcohol, they still have all the nice things that they like eating, but they're learning how to do it within their body's means, meaning that when they get to the end of their time with me, I have helped them create a new normal diet that they then carry on with. There's no normal to go back to and start gaining weight again, because that's the problem, right? You know, the word diet has two definitions. The first one is a short-term, what is it? A short-term special course of food to help someone achieve an outcome, i.e. weight loss, something like that. And the other definition is the foods that a person or a community habitually eat. It's much more eloquent like that, but I'm not Googling it. But that's the two definitions, right? Your diet is everything that you're eating and drinking today, tomorrow, the next day. That's your current diet, your habitual daily diet. Then there's the other term, which is a short-term change or short-term form of restriction to achieve an outcome. These are the two definitions that people get mixed up. People do, they go from the short-term diet back to the normal daily diet, and they're two separate things, on plan, off plan. You're either doing or not doing. You're either dieting or eating normally. Dieting is the thing that helps you lose weight. Eating normally is the thing that leads to weight gain. What I am doing with everyone that I work with is giving them a new normal. So that, today I've spoken to 3 people in check-ins. Last couple of days, sorry, this is Monday today, Friday, I spoke to a few people and then a couple today who are now at a weight that they are happy with. They don't want to lose any more weight, and they've asked me to start helping them get to maintenance. Now, when they ask me that, it means that I help them bring their nutrition up to a maintenance point. Now, it does not mean radically changing the way that they eat, because they already have this new balance of nutrition that includes everything that they want to have. What we need to do now is get to a point where their calories are higher so that their weight stops going down. And would you believe that there are many cases where people find that difficult? That might be difficult to believe for many people, but I have worked with so many people who are like, the way that you've got me eating, I'm not hungry, I'm satisfied, but it keeps, but my calories come out at 1,500. And I know that if I keep doing this, I'm going to keep losing weight. How can I now eat more to stop my weight coming down? It's not a case of eating more. It's a case of swapping things back out. Because remember, a deficit isn't forever. People think that dieting has to be sustainable, which is utter bullshit. If you sustained a fat loss diet, you would eventually die. Deficits do not need to be sustainable because you don't need to sustain them forever. A deficit is something that you do for a short period of time. So, when people are getting into a calorie deficit, yes, you need to consume fewer calories and find a way of doing it. So people will swap things out that they're having. So they may start to use less oils. They'll maybe even replace them with Fry Light. Maybe they go down to like a lighter butter, maybe lighter than light mayonnaise. Maybe they go from 100% fat yogurt to 0% fat Greek yogurt. Maybe they've been spending a little bit extra money on lean beef and chicken breast instead of chicken thighs and all these other things. When people get to maintenance with me, it's not a case of eating more volume. It's bringing back all these things that they've swapped out and reduced. Someone might have ditched peanut butter for a while because they just know it wasn't worth the calories. While in a deficit, it wasn't going to help them. However, now that they can, we can bring their calories up by 500 to help them maintain their weight. Yeah, I can bring peanut butter back. I've got plenty of scope to include that, as well as this, as well as that. So yeah, my job is to help people find a new normal, because that ultimately is the problem. Your weight isn't the problem, it's your current diet. And that's not just limited to the things that you eat and the things that you drink, it is also the things that you think and the things that you feel and the poor information that you've been exposed to and the terrible knowledge that you have in your head and the experience you have with Weight Watchers and Slimming World and all these other things that you've done. Helping people find a new normal is how you solve the weight problem. Because if you never find yourself in a position where you have weight to lose, then you'll never have to diet again. And that's a secret that the fat loss industry, the weight loss industry, doesn't want you to know. They want you to yo-yo diet. They make billions from you. Not you personally, but everyone listening collectively, and the rest. The yo-yo diet industry is worth tens of billions of pounds. It's like getting a cow. A farmer doesn't have a cow, milk it once, and then retire it. That would not make much money. They get a cow and they milk it over and over and over again, and they keep selling that milk over and over again, and that cow that cost them X amount of money has now made them thousands of pounds. It's the same with Slimming World and Weight Watchers and the rest. If they taught you how to lose weight once and never have to do it again, how are they going to make more money from you? These plans are designed with your future return custom in mind. They want to milk you for as much money as they can. And once you realize that you are paying the same money to lose the same weight with the same company, the same weight that you lost last time, over and over and over again, once you have that realization, it might not be sinking in yet now that you're listening to it. You might have been following me on Instagram and still not be getting it. But there will be a day that will come and you'll be like, what the fuck, he was right. I am heavier now than I was 20 years ago, and I've been going to Slimming World every single year. And that's the moment you realise that it's not been helping you. It's the very thing that's been keeping you stuck. Anyway, what are we at? 38 minutes. Okay, let's recap. I've spoken about, hopefully, helpfully, in the kind of inner workings of what I do and how it works. So let's just break it down. You would go to the website, munromethod.com. You would have a read on there, you would work your way through, and you would find the membership options. Now, people get confused by this because there are a number of options on there, but there are only 2 membership options. There are Clan Munro, which is the non-coaching membership where you don't have check-ins with me. I'm not directly involved in your progress. If you choose that option, it's because you either just want to see how we work on the inside, or you're confident that as long as you have access to our plan and the way that it works and the tutorials and how to implement it, you can carry on by yourself without the accountability, without the support, without us making adjustments or helping you, right? That's the £10 a month option at the time of recording. And you pay your first 2 months in advance, okay? The other option is the one-to-one group coaching option. which is £40 a month. So it's an extra, with the Clan Munro, you get access to everything except check-ins. So the plan itself, all the information, all the live chats, all the recipes, being a part of the community, being involved in that private Facebook group where Louise and I post on a daily basis. That's what that is, okay? As a one-to-one group coaching member, you have access to that, but as for the extra £30 that you're paying, that is where the real value comes in. That is where you get recorded fortnightly video feedback, where Louise or I will sit with us projected onto your check-in, and we will go through each and every part of it. You'll upload your screenshots from your tracking, your steps, your weight. You will provide, you'll take the check-in template and fill it out in depth, and Louise and I will spend as long as we need to going through that check-in and helping you as best we can. Now, there are times where it only takes me 5 minutes because someone is just having an absolutely brilliant week. They don't need any help. They're doing everything right. And all they genuinely need from me is some encouragement to keep doing what they're doing. Now, I don't like those check-ins because I like to give people value. And I will go through these things with a fine-tooth comb, looking for something to pounce on. Some word, some bit of language, some kind of, reference to good or bad foods or healthy or unhealthy. And if I find something, I'll pick up on it and I'll maybe ask a bit more about it. But there are genuinely many cases, and it's a great place to reach, where I don't have to ask these things. And then at the other end of the scale, someone might need a lot of help, and I could be on that video for 30 minutes going through every single part of their check-in and giving them feedback. And yeah, that's where the biggest successes come from, the one-to-one group, where we are directly involved in the process, and we are keeping you accountable, and we are holding you to the things that you say you're going to do. Part of the check-in template is state your intentions for the next fortnight. I am going to do this, this, and this. In order to achieve these, so you're already saying how you're going to do it, even more of a commitment. I am going to do this, this, and this. And Louise and I are able to look back to your past check-in and say, okay, so this is what you said you were going to do. This is how you were going to overcome it. How did you get on with that? And then we can talk more about that. But yeah, the real value in everything that I do comes from the check-in process, because that's where I can have a direct hand and help you, in the way that I've been talking through these podcasts. And if you ever see any of my videos on social media or the Munro Method account, in my own particular coaching style. And remember, I don't want people to be members forever. People, there's people that I know will listen to this podcast who I speak to in their check-ins and say, listen, I don't think you need to be here anymore. What are your plans? I'm not trying to kick you out the door. I absolutely would love for you to stay. Are you still getting value from these check-ins? Do you genuinely still need my help, or do you think it's time to go? And I'll try and get people to leave if and when I think they're ready for it. Because, again, unlike Slimming World and the rest of it, I don't do target members. I don't have people stay for the rest of their lives. Once you have done the weight loss part, you no longer need to be in the weight loss world. You can go now and just maintain. Forget the weight loss stuff. You've been trapped in it for more years than I'm sure you want to remember. Go and live your life away from dieting. I want to help people once and then never have to help them again. That doesn't mean to say it doesn't happen. There are many people that have went and had babies, or who didn't do well during lockdown initially, whose circumstances have changed with working from home. People might join in a period of life that's relatively quiet, absolutely smash it, but then something happens, like a pandemic or something else, that they didn't know how to navigate, and they maybe do come back again, and we have to work through some different issues, and that's fine. But as a rule, I don't email all of my ex-members and say, hey, do you still have weight to lose? I'd love to see you back at group. Or put leaflets through their door, or send them WhatsApp messages with, hi hun, do you still need help with your weight? Please come back. Yeah, that's not me. So yeah, did I go through everything? Go on the website, look through the membership options. That was where I was at. There is another membership option called the Committed Investor, where it's still just the one-to-one group coaching option, except I give you a discount because you sign up for 3 months in advance. So instead of being £120 for 3 months, it's £96. That's the only difference. It's the exact same plan. You are just getting a discount for paying 3 months in advance. That's it. Similarly with the couples option, you get there's a further discount for people that join as a couple. And yeah, once you join, you sign up, you go through the payment process. Within a few minutes, you will have a welcome email to the email address that you signed up with. If you have used PayPal, it's the one attached to your PayPal address. Check your junk or your spam folder because that's where it might go. And that is where it begins. That email will tell you what to do next. You will actually receive a few of those emails over a month-long period. So you'll get one on day 1, one on day 3, one on day 6, one on day 10, because at each time I'm like, right, you might be experiencing this just now, and you might be experiencing this just now, and here are the parts of the Clan Munro group you can go to for reassurance. The skills might be doing this, you might be struggling with this. And it's just me trying to predict the future with what I know happens to people on these days. Then at the fortnight, you'll get an email saying, check-in time, just a reminder, it's check-in day today. Here's what we need from you, here's how to do it. And that's just a new thing, by the way. I just wrote those emails at the end of 2021. It's just one extra thing to help people and make sure they're coming back and checking in and doing everything they're supposed to be doing at the right times, but trying to make the process as simple and effortless as possible. So yeah, once you get your welcome email, you join the group. If you're a one-to-one member, we'll go through your starting stats. You'll do your first fortnight. And none of this, you don't need to know a single thing about calories or macros or nutrition or anything. You do not need to have any form of base knowledge at all. In fact, the people that do best, I call them blank canvases. People that don't have, years of Slimming World and Weight Watchers brainwashing to undo. People that just come in. God, some of the people that have never dieted before, they come in and just absolutely smash it because there's no doubt and there's no fear and there's no kind of questioning what they're being taught. They are just blindly accepting, not blindly because they know I'm qualified and I should, I'm qualified to talk about what I'm talking about. Don't blindly do it, but they accept it. I know what I'm talking about. They throw themselves into the process and they do absolutely brilliantly. So yeah, when you join, you don't have to have any base knowledge. You will learn everything that you need to learn. I have been doing this for 5 years now. There is a live chat or a post or something to cover every single situation or frequently asked question or problem that people might have. A lot of time people will reach out and ask questions in the one-to-one group. This has probably been asked before, but I'm having trouble with this. And I'll go, I've got just the thing for you. Here's a graphic or a resource. Here's a live chat you could really benefit from catching up on. More recently, here's a podcast episode I think you could really benefit from listening to. And that's it. Each fortnight, you will check in with us. We will work through the problems and the challenges that you face that fortnight. We'll help you overcome them. We'll help you understand them better. We will question and go back and forth until you're happy that things are resolved and that you're now prepared to go into the next fortnight. And we do that and we rinse and repeat every fortnight. And every fortnight you get better and better and better. And all the while that we are improving your relationship with food and your mindset and the way that you think, act and feel around food, all of that time, your weight is naturally coming down as a bonus byproduct of all the other things that you are doing. 48 minutes. I hope I have managed to get everything into this. I hope it's given you a better understanding of what's involved and how it's worked. It is not just calorie counting. It is not just macros. It is not just pats on the backs and well done and keep going and all of that shit. It is compassionate, in-depth coaching from qualified professionals, qualified and highly experienced professionals with years of doing what we do with tens of thousands of people. It's an investment in yourself, an investment in your future self. So yeah, if you have any questions, as ever, reach out to me on social media, reach out to me on emails. don't reach out to me on my Facebook business page. That I do not get notifications for that thing. I don't know why. I have to intentionally go to the inbox and look at it, which I only remember to do now and again. And there'll be a bunch of messages in there. Send me an email. Inquiries at Munro. No, in fact, my personal one. Jason@munronutrition.com. Or DM me on Instagram. I reply to everybody. Yeah, I hope that's been helpful. Next one, we'll be back to the educational and practical and helpful content. But for now, maybe now that you've listened to this, you might be getting ready to go to munromethod.com and sign up. And if so, I'll look forward to working with you. Take care.